and we really enjoyed it, and we know that a lot of you were working real hard too, I saw that, and so we don't want to belabor you with a long meeting today. We do have a few things that we would like to cover with you, however. If you heard the radio broadcast today of Minister Farrakhan, you heard him dealing with the first surah of the Holy Quran. And he will be dealing with the Quran extensively. And all of those of us who are teaching on behalf of him and as his ministers, his representatives, we will also be dealing with the Quran. But one of the things that we have to understand, and those of you who listen to us have to understand, is we are not parrots. And it's not our job to parrot. Minister Farrakhan is teaching. Nobody is qualified to teach but Minister Farrakhan. That is why, don't be surprised. You say, well, Minister Farrakhan's teaching this, but I listen to his ministers. I've been to this city and that city and that city. They don't seem to be teaching exactly the same thing. No, we're not to teach exactly the same thing. Minister Farrakhan can put out videotapes and teach everybody what he's teaching. In fact, he does. So therefore, why should, some of you may be sitting at home looking at a wonderful video of Minister Farrakhan and see it over and over till you just about know it by heart. And then you come out here and you hear the exact same thing. You wasted a trip. But what we should be doing is he has his mission and we have ours. And his mission as the spiritual leader and teacher of the Nation of Islam is to deliver to us the Word of God. And it is our job, our absolute duty and responsibility as followers of his, then to try and help the rest of our brothers and sisters and ourselves to put that into daily practice. Because the Holy Quran does not teach you to believe and believe alone. It teaches you to put your belief into actions. It tells you that right belief without right action goes for naught, nothing, zero, zip, zilch. You're just a righteous nobody. I don't do no wrong. Well, it's easy if you don't do nothing. Not doing any wrong and not doing any right, that's balancing the scale at zero. And as Billy Preston says, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So, brothers and sisters, we want to continue with the series which we initiated 2 weeks ago, dealing with the Holy Quran, dealing with it step by step, part by part, as it fits our development. Because as we pointed out at that time, the Holy Quran was revealed to an Arab to give it to Arabs to show how it works. But the book was not for the Arabs alone. And the people that the book was actually written for more than anybody else is you and me. And if you just hang with us long enough, you'll understand that yourself. You may disbelieve it now. You may think that, hey, niggas ain't nothing, and, God ain't going to do all that over there for us over here. Just hang around us for a little while. Study with us for a while. And you will bear me witness that this is our book and nobody else. Everybody else is a caretaker, and everybody else is blessed that Allah is allowing us to share it with them. This book is ours. Okay? Now, the second section of the Quran begins talking about the Qibla. Now, the word Qibla in Arabic means the direction in which you turn your face. That's what the word means. Now, it has always been applied to one particular building, the Holy Kaaba, which sits in the center of Mecca. It's been applied to that. That is a symbol. A Qibla is the spiritual center. So now if a spiritual center is made up wholly of material, that's a material center. No, that is a symbol representing, they call it Bayat Allah, or the house of God, because this represents focusing your attention on God. When all the Muslims all over the earth turn to pray, and they all turn to this one Qibla, That's nothing but a physical manifestation of their spiritual being, where they turn their whole life to the worship of God. They're not worshiping that rock over there in the corner of that building. Some of them are, but I'm talking about Muslims. So the second section, or the second part of the Holy Quran, starts out, in fact, let me read it to you. It's the 142nd verse or ayat of the second surah. Part 2 begins. The fools among the people will say, what has turned them from their Qibla which they had? So the fools will say, what will turn them from their Qibla which they had? Well, what does that mean? In the time of Muhammad, the Arabs already had a Qibla, or a spiritual center, or a direction that they turned to worship God. All of the Arabs turned toward the city of Jerusalem when they prayed. Now, Muhammad got in Medina, and after 16 months, Muhammad announced to the Muslims, we will no longer turn to Jerusalem. We will turn to Mecca. And the book says, before he even tells them that, what the fools are going to say. Because fools always say that. Whenever you make a change, fools always wonder what was wrong with what you already had. But as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad always said, wise men change many times, fools never change. So when Muhammad, 1400 years ago, said to these Muslims, we will change our Qibla, the Quran says the fools question the change. Now, Minister Farrakhan has not told us that we should change the physical direction in which we pray yet. Not saying he will, but he hasn't said it yet. If he does, I got no problem with it. I have to tell you that up front. I don't know if he ever will. But if he ever does, I have no problem with it. So I thank Allah that in that area I'm not a fool. I'm a fool in some other area. Some I'm not too proud of. Some I'm very proud of being a fool in. But in that area I'm not a fool. So therefore, if he announced it right this minute, I would have no problem. Now, why wouldn't I have a problem? Because we got to understand the nature of a Qibla. As we pointed out, that is your spiritual center. That means that it is a symbol of your mind, your heart, being toward God. Mr. Farrakhan said at our last conference of the national laborers that the prostrations that we do, the salat that we make, is nothing but a symbol. That's not the real prayer. When we get down and say our prayers, that is not the real prayer. That is a symbol of the real prayer. Bowing down physically is a symbol that we are bowing our will to God. The real prayer is obedience to the will of Allah. That's the prayer. The prayer is not making salat. Making salat is to remind you of the real prayer. So the Holy Quran says, when the fools among the people say, who has turned them from their Qibla which they had, Allah tells Muhammad, say, the east and the west belong only to Allah. You get people so hung up about, you're not a Muslim unless you say, Allah ain't God over this. If the minister tells us to face the north, you mean Allah ain't God up there with the Eskimos? Tell us to face south, you mean the Mexicans, Allah could govern them? Allah is the God of the universe. That's right. So what is it doing? See, this appeared late. This was a late revelation to the Arabs. But it appears early in the Quran because the people that it's intended for need to understand this early. As soon as we begin to come into Islam, we got to get rid of all superstition and spookiness and start being completely real. And understand that all of the rituals, though they are good, all of the rituals that we go through are just that. They are rituals and signs of the real thing. And don't get so hung up on the sign that you lose the real thing. As I've said before, you drive down the street and you see a sign, and the sign says fish sandwiches. You know, that's a sign to let you know that this is where you can get the fish sandwich. But if you go up there and start licking on the sign, you ain't gonna get nothing but lead poisoning. Now, it says, the east and the west belong to Allah. He guides whom he pleases to the right path. So what's it telling you? A Qibla can't exalt you. A house of worship can't exalt you. An imam, a minister, a preacher, a priest can't exalt you. Only Allah can exalt you. And it says that Allah chose the Qibla just as a sign. Listen to what it says. Said, and we did not make that which thou wouldst have to be the Qibla, but that we might distinguish him who follows the messenger from him who turns back upon his heels. Do you see what it says very clearly? Ain't no real importance to Jerusalem, and ain't no real importance to Mecca. But that's the way to show who's with Muhammad. Okay? Wasn't no more power in Mecca than there was in Jerusalem. So Allah didn't have them to turn from Jerusalem to Mecca because there was more power. He had them to turn to see if they would obey their leader, their messenger, above the tradition of their dumb fathers, which we'll get to a little bit later. Same as us. Same as us. We have got to have tests where we think that we know, where we think that we're so rooted in Islam, where we think that we know this Quran so well, so backward and forward. Every now and then, Allah got to test us to say, I got a man in your midst that knows the Quran better than you. That's why he is the Imam. We don't call him that, but by definition, that's what he is. The one who is best studied in the Quran is the Imam, the leader of the community. And that's why Allah has put him here. And every now and then we have to be tested to see if we think we understand this book so well that when he tells us something that seems different from the book, we're going to follow the man, we're going to follow the book. And God ain't never sent a book without a man. At the time that the Qibla was changed, the temple in Jerusalem was much cleaner than the one in Mecca. At least the temple in Jerusalem, the Jews and the Christians in the temple there believed in one God. The Holy Kaaba had 99 idols sitting up in there. 365 idols in there. 99 big ones and the rest little ones. They were worshiping all of them. They had a God for every day of the year. And they were bowing down worshiping all these idols inside the Holy Kaaba. So the Holy Kaaba wasn't nearly on the spiritual level of Jerusalem when Allah told them to turn. But what is he saying? You can't judge the condition of what I turn you to now. I turn you to it because I know what it's going to be. And it came a time when the Holy Kaaba was so much more pure than anything in the world, let alone in Jerusalem, that it vindicated the choice of the Kaaba as the Qibla. So you and I today, we're sitting in a position similar to what the Arabs were in. And when we begin to center our attention, listen to me very carefully. When we begin to center our attention on Allah, on the Creator, that may sound to some of you like you're saying, well, all the Muslims do that. No. Let's look at it very carefully. We center our attention on the Creator, not on a piece of rock with some silk hanging over it. Now, I have to say that straight out, because idolatry has returned to Mecca. Nowhere in the world I go there, well, But let's look at that. What is Hajj? Hajj is a physical thing. Going on Hajj don't make you no better than you were. Hajj is a physical thing that is an outward show of the unity we're supposed to feel within. That's why Muslims come from all over the world, all colors, all kinds, speaking all languages and everything. They make them all dressed just alike. Get rid of everything that divides you so that you're all one people. That's a symbol of how you're supposed to be in your everyday life. But Hajj itself don't change you unless the impact of it really gets to you and you come back and practice what Hajj meant. But I heard Minister Farrakhan talking about, I believe it was the first time he ever went on Hajj, how they got on the plane in Jeddah and they were headed back, and I think the plane went to London first and then came in and said you saw all of them Muslim sisters with all these, they couldn't see nothing but their eyes. Understand? I mean, they were decked all the way down, loose, couldn't see no form, couldn't see no nothing. So they got on the plane. Say one by one they were going in the bathroom. Say by the time they got off in London, say they had on everything. You could see everything they thought they had. And then they had gone in there, painted their faces, pulled off their things and showed all of the tints and the different color streaks that they had on them tight Jordashes and them heels, and fell off the plane. Hajj ain't been nothing to them. Hajj was a vacation for them. Wasting up some money. All right. So it's an outward show of unity. That's what it's supposed to be. Not no rock worship. That's running over people. People die over there. You know that? Every year on Hajj, people die. Hearts can't take it. Folks pushing, strapping. Got to get over there and kiss that rock. Not me, Jack. Somebody with herpes might have kissed it. I'm not even interested in it. No. I just have to tell you like it is. I'm realistic. I worry about that, when folks go over there. Listen to this. Now, it talks about the changes. Then it talks about trial. And we shall certainly try you with something of fear and hunger and loss of property and lives and fruits. That's the next stage of development. The Holy Quran is telling us. Don't care how comfortable you get, don't care how great you feel. Brother Kevin laid it on the line to you. We got an opportunity to do something, to make something, to create something, to build something. And it's going to be built. If not by us, by whoever replaces us. But it's going to happen. But to see if we're worthy to enjoy it after it's been built, you and I got to go through some tests, and it lists them. It doesn't leave you speculating. Well, I wonder if this is going to be the test. I wonder if that, it tells you what the tests are going to be. Hunger. Fear. Do you hear me? Fear. That's the first one it mentioned. Fear. You're going to be tried with fear. I don't care how bully you think you are. You're going to be tried with fear. You're not going to be tried to see if you got any fear. You're going to be tried to see how you react to the fear that you got. You think you ain't got it, that's going to get you wasted. You're going to have to be tried. All of us going to have to be tried by the fear we got. We'll be tried with hunger. I don't care how often you fast. It helps. It's good. And it will help you get through the trial. But the trial will be severe enough that no matter how much you fast, you're still going to get hungry. Okay? And I mean, I'm not talking about voluntarily. You'll be hungry because you're hungry and you can't get nothing to stop being hungry. Loss of property. Oh, yeah. Okay, how you cherish. That's why it does not pay to take anything for a God beside Allah, because you can lose it. And when you lose it, then there goes your object of worship, and there goes your religion out the window. So, loss of property is going to be a trial for us. And loss of lives. You may say, well, how can a loss of life be a trial if I'm dead? A loss of somebody else's life can be a trial for you. See? It's not the one that's gone who is the trial for, it's those who are left. And, we'll talk about a lot of that a lot later. But now, go on with what it says. But he tells, the last line in that particular verse is, and give good news to the patient. Give good news to the patient. Tell those who are patient, they got good news coming when it's over. But you got to be patient, and you got to endure. You can't duck it. You can't dodge it. So I heard somebody say the other day, I really was impressed by it. Somebody the other day said something about something was happening to them, some trials they were going through. And they started praying to Allah to ease the burden. And in the middle of the prayer, they realized their mistake. And they stopped the prayer and started all over again. And instead of asking Allah to ease the burden, they asked Allah to make them able to bear the burden. Yes, sir. Easing the burden would not have accomplished the purpose. When a burden is put on you or a trial is put on you, it is to strengthen you for the next one coming. And if Allah eases that one, that means you ain't going to be in shape when the next one comes, and that one will get you. So they realize their mistake and they don't know Allah, don't ease the burden. Help me to bear the burden. Okay, in 158th verse, says, the Safa and the Marwa are truly among the signs of Allah. They're signs of Allah. So whoever makes a pilgrimage to the house or pays a visit to it, there's no blame on him if he goes around them. Now what's happening there? Those of you who have been on Hajj or studied Hajj, you know that that's one of the rituals you go through. That on your way to Mecca, you run between these two mountains. Okay? Now, Allah here has to explain that there's nothing wrong with that. But why did the Muslims think something was wrong with that? Because prior to the advent of Prophet Muhammad, the Arabs already were using those two mountains as items or objects of worship. Why? Because these were the two mountains that Hagar, the slave woman who gave birth to Ishmael for Abraham, was running back and forth between when she could find no food or no water for her and her child. And in remembrance of that, the Arabs have always worshipped, actually, those two mountains. In fact, this is why the Muslims didn't want to deal with it, because the Arabs had an idol sitting up on each of the mountains. And part of their religious worship was to go up there and touch the statues. So naturally, when the Muslims began to worship Allah, the one God, they didn't want to be bothered with anything that smacked of idolatry. So they didn't want to deal with those two mountains. But Allah tells Muhammad in the Holy Quran to tell him it's okay. It's all right, because those two mountains are a sign. Now, what sign are those two mountains for the Arabs? Okay, so they say they descended from Ishmael. That's fine. But so what? What has the ritual to do with that? The ritual came from Hagar running back and forth. Now, Hagar was a slave woman. Those mountains are a sign. It's got to have something to do with slavery, and there's no history of the Arabs ever being in slavery. That is a sign of somebody who was in slavery, looking for a way out, looking for a means of subsistence, and finding it. But finding it that she already had it. She was looking everywhere else for it and had it with her all the time. You remember the story of Hagar, don't you? Hagar was the slave woman that Abraham had. His wife Sarah was supposed to be barren and couldn't have any children. So Sarah gave him permission to go ahead and have children by Hagar. Then after Hagar had this son, then Sarah got pregnant. And Sarah had a son. So since Sarah had a son, she was jealous now of Hagar, her son, made Abraham put them out. She didn't even want them in the house with her. So Abraham put them out. Abraham he was a prophet of God. He wasn't an evil man. But this was for a sign. A cast out slave, a helpless slave and her baby, with no one to turn to, no place to go. And she ran back and forth between these two mountains. And according to the scriptures, when she finally gave up, said, I can't find no food, I don't even have water, I know we're going to perish, she just laid her little baby down and said, we might as well just lay down here and die. And at that moment, God caused water to spring up out of the earth at the feet of the baby. She had the answer in her arms all the time. But she's looking everywhere else. You know, throughout the Bible and throughout all of sacred scripture, they use mountains in their translations. They use mountains to represent governments. Okay? And so Hagar there represents a slave people who are looking for powers, and the valleys represent low stations in life. So here these folks are down in a low station in life. The only thing is running from one thing, they're always looking to something higher, someone more powerful. And the answer is right there. Their own flesh and blood right there with them. Okay, we're not going to, go into any long dissertation on that. I think you understand. That if you and I are going to be successful, we can't look to those who are in the power in this world. We're in the lowest state, but the answer is right here among us. Right. We got to give birth to our own freedom. The water is physically to the body what the Word of God is spiritually. It gives life and sustains life, and without it, there is no life. Okay? The answer is with us. It is within. That's what Jesus meant when he said, the kingdom of God is within you. But look at everywhere else for you. You want a kingdom of God, you will establish it. Holy Quran backs that up 1,000%, as you'll see as we go on today. Now, in the next step of our development, they start talking about food. O men, eat the lawful and good things from what is in the earth, and follow not the footsteps of the devil. Surely he is an open enemy to you. He enjoins on you only evil and indecency, and that you speak against Allah what you know not. And when it is said to them, follow what Allah has revealed, they say, nay, we follow that wherein we found our fathers. What? Even though their fathers had no sense at all, nor did they follow the right way? Hey, there's Allah telling you right there. You're going to follow some folks' attack. You living in a world that hates righteousness as bad as God hates evil. And when they see a group of people, when they see one trying to be right, they try to destroy you. But when they see a whole group trying to be right, they bring out their heavy guns. They do everything they can. Don't you know it's no accident that crack didn't really get hot throughout this country until Minister Farrakhan really began to rise all over this country? Do you know that? Just check your timetable. From its inception in San Francisco, they didn't start publicizing until it hit Los Angeles about 5 years ago. But it started a little earlier in San Francisco, just about the time that the minister really had dug in the West Coast harder than anywhere else and was dealing hard. They came up with it out of their little laboratories. And then started spreading, called it rocks. Started shooting some rocks all around San Francisco, and then after they experimented with it and got it like they wanted, then they pumped it on down into big old L.A. Then they eased it on over here to the Big Apple. That ain't no accident. That's a weapon of war. Gonna destroy them before we can get to them. But they plan a plan, and Allah plans a plan. Allah is the best of planners. So as we progress and as we take another step forward, we've got to be ready, ready, ready. Brother Kevin touched on this a little earlier. We've got to be ready for retaliation. Okay? The Holy Quran says in this same chapter that there is life in retaliation. What does it mean, life in retaliation? Because as long as you will retaliate, people are careful about jumping on you. If they know they got to bring some to get some, then if they ain't got it, they ain't coming. Okay? As you saw the JDL do that thing down at the Met the other day, Roll that tear gas in there because the Russians were dancing? Well, that was a test. Right? Now, I just have to tell you, brothers and sisters, I'm talking about brothers, sisters, spies, everybody. You can take the tape down and send it to Washington if you want to. We have got to be ready to establish a firm principle. If the JDL or anybody else even makes a loud noise at us, the retaliation has to be so swift and so deadly till people will shiver when they see it on television. I don't mean I'll butt whipping. I mean do it to them. You understand? And I don't mean go try to find the guilty ones. No. For them running their mouths saying that they're doing it, we're going to tell them we believe y'all are religious Jewish people and that you wouldn't lie. So if it happens, you guilty. Better hope we don't accidentally have something happen or you gone. See? Intelligent people don't run around looking for the guilty. Even crazy people don't run around looking for the guilty. Back in the old South, right after the Civil War, if they said a nigga did something, they didn't go look for the nigga, they called a nigga. I mean, every black man knew when they heard that a nigga did something, they go lock up in their house because they know the first one they get to is in trouble. If you came home and your little child was laying up there with 2 marks on their leg, got snake bite, and you saw a snake crawling down his feet, would you look at his face and see if any blood on it, or would you chop his head off? When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, did they go over to Japan wanting to find the pilots from there? They went and started dropping bombs on the whole nation of Japan. If you wasn't with them, you ought to be. Now, I'm telling you what our mentality got to be from this day forward. As I said to you a few weeks ago, even if they do it in disguise. But we got some niggas that's stupid, bought easily, and all that. And as I told you a few weeks ago, if the biggest, blackest nigga in the world do something to you, go get a Jew. We don't want the puppet, we want the puppeteer. See, as long as they know, hey, we send them niggas in there, and if they catch him, hey, it's just 2 niggas. No. We want you to know, boss, that if anything happens, we coming after you, so you be careful who you send. Because we might convert the brother later on or the sister, but we ain't converting you except to fertilizer. Praise is due to Allah. Now, we taught all of that warfare. The book is talking about all this warfare and things to do to gear up for. In the very next breath, what does it say? Fasting is prescribed for you. What? Look at this. The very next thing it says, is that what it says? Right. Fasting is prescribed for you. Why? It says the life of this world is made to seem fair to those who disbelieve. Check this out now. Talks about fighting and then abruptly goes off into fasting. Because you ain't going to be able to fight this world if you love it. It's hard to fight something that you love. That's why, women are crazy as hell when a man thumping on them talking about he love them. You don't fight something you love. You can't fight something that you love. No. If you love it, you might hit a couple times and your heart starts fluttering and I'm sorry. It's all over. And you won't do it again. Well, if we're in love with this world that we're living in, and we are, it's hard to fight it. So we got to build up the strength to fight it. And that's why the Holy Quran says you got to fast to guard against evil. You got to fast to fight your passions that can be used against you. Do you know that crack is not the last or the greatest weapon that white folks gonna send us? Did you know that? It's the last and greatest of the chemical narcotics. But it's not the last and the greatest weapon. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us what the last and greatest weapon was. White woman. It's his last and greatest woman. But crack sets you up for it. I just talked to a crack expert a couple of days ago. And if you start reading the news, I went back and got some of my newspaper clippings and saw that the brother knew exactly what he was talking about. Why do you find in every crack house that they bust, why do you find young girls laying around on the couches? They give you the impression that the young girls are merely selling sex to get crack. That's not all it is. Crack is a sex drug. Check this. Crack is a sex drug that heightens your sexual desire and lessens your ability to perform. Which means what? That you're constantly smoking it, and the desire is getting greater and greater, and your ability to perform is getting less and less, and that drives you into freakishness. Telling you better study this stuff. It ain't just something to get you high and mess your mind up. It's set for something. It's set for the next and last stage. It's setting you up. You got 5 young black boys in jail today right here in New York City for a white girl up there with them about some crack. The pattern is clear. There are so many black men who grew up with just smatterings of the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that they would not fall victim to a white woman if they're in their right minds. Yes, sir. There are too many black men in the United States right now, though I didn't say she wouldn't appeal to them, but they have the moral strength to say, no, I'm going to walk away from this and leave her alone. Therefore, if the majority of black men are like that, then the last and greatest trick won't work. So now the man has put something out there to get us conditioned so that his last trick will work. That's why we got to destroy that stuff out of our community. We got to get it out of our community. Because it's got a long-range plan that's worse than the short-range plan. Now, moral reserve is just so important when you're fighting a powerful enemy. Now, you know, Cuba is a little bitty little postage stamp country. Do you see how long Cuba has been standing up against the United States? Now, they go all the way over the world. They fly all over Cuba to go and attack other folks. Every time they mess with Cuba, they get messed up. What's the difference? Cuba ain't outgunning them. When Russia put some nuclear weapons there, they made them take them out. What is it about the Cuban people that America cannot handle? They have a moral reserve that if America took over that island, they got Marines stationed on the island. At Guantanamo, Gitmo as they call it. Been there the whole time. They don't mess up. If they took over the whole island and held them captive, they would have to kill every Cuban before they would submit. That's the kind of moral reserve that the people have. And that's what they can't fight. This white man can fight you with carnal weapons, but he can't fight your moral reserve because he's a totally immoral man. He can't even confront that. Let me give you an example of the moral reserve. See, it's all in leadership. Now, you know that when they came up with the laws, with the bills in Congress and in the Senate to make them print a warning on the packages of cigarettes that it caused cancer. You remember Jesse Helms and all the boys from North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, all them tobacco growers, they fought it tooth and nail. Why? Because the money that their state makes come from tobacco. When they got ready to take it off TV so they couldn't advertise it on TV, oh, same one. They wanted to filibuster, keep the bill from passing because they want to keep pushing them narcotics, them tobacco narcotics, so that North Carolina and Virginia and all them, have all them cigarette factories open. And they put that before the fact that it's death. Pure death. That's your life going up in smoke, but they don't care. All they're worried about is the money. Now check this. Cigar smokers all over the planet Earth, when they want the ultimate, the ultimo in cigars, what kind of cigars do they want? Havana, right? Havana is the cigar capital of the world. Havana makes buku money off of cigars. But look what was in the Daily News just the other day. Cuban President Fidel Castro marked his first anniversary of giving up cigars with an attack on bad health habits, smoking, overeating, and not exercising. Here's a man whose economy depends greatly on tobacco. He not only gives it up, but he condemns it publicly. That's moral reserve. You can't beat that with a hammer. That's what Minister Farrakhan is trying to get through our thick skulls. It's not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's the unseen power that we have in us that we can win this battle. Don't worry about what you see white folks threatening us with. What will defeat them is what you don't see in us if we just develop it. If we say we're going to clean up Harlem, don't worry about what the doggone drug dealers got. We got our law. We don't care what they got. And their police who are taking the payoff, we don't care what they got because they'll go too. Holy Quran says, fight in the way of Allah against those who fight against you. It says, don't be the aggressor, but fight in the way of Allah with those who fight with you or against those who fight against you. See, well, if we go out there and just start tracking folks down, we did better. No, we're not. You better study this Quran because it tells you what aggression is. Don't tell me that here's somebody that's ruining our little children, causing them to crack up and to die, and that's not aggression. No, we already been aggressed against. Anything we do is in self-defense. We're already under attack. It also says, it's no accident that this is in this right here, right now. It also says, don't fight in the mosque until they fight you in the mosque. See what it's saying? You're not to fight in the mosque. Therefore, a believer will never get mad enough at anybody or anything to jump on them in the mosque. Now, but if somebody jumps on you in the mosque, the Holy Quran says, first of all, that's a disbeliever, because a believer won't do it. So when a disbeliever attacks you in the mosque, it does not say beat them up. It does not say make them surrender and say uncle. It doesn't say call the police. It says slay them. Yes, sir. Anybody attack anybody in the mosque by law has to die. If you don't kill them, then Allah is going to chastise you. Anybody ever come in a mosque and attack us and we don't wipe them out, Allah will take care of us. And if they're already in here and start something, you got to kill them on the spot or Allah won't bless you. Let's say there's life in retaliation. Anybody know they got to give up their life to come in here and start some foolishness? They ain't coming in too quick to do nothing. They got to know that, and sooner or later somebody got to tell. They're going to make a sacrificial lamb. They're going to get a nigga crazy enough to try it. When he tries, we got to give him the right answer. Ship him back. Right? We got to understand this thing. Now, yesterday's newspaper had a very disturbing story in it. Said that over in Istanbul, Turkey, there were some Jews in a synagogue praying, worshiping. Some folks broke in, shot it up, killed almost everybody in there, and then blew themselves up. Now, first thing I thought about was I knew that there were going to be some folks who call themselves Muslims who were going to have a tendency to rejoice at that. But that is not Minister Farrakhan's teaching. That is not the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Right. When the mosque in Los Angeles was attacked, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad sat down and dictated to me and Brother Malcolm. We sat right down there and wrote it as he said it. I typed it up, gave it back to him. He made all the corrections, and we went It specified churches, mosques, or synagogues. They are to be protected. Okay? In Israel, Jews have desecrated synagogues in recent weeks. Non-religious Jews, mad at the religious Jews, have gone into the synagogues to try. I take a personal affront at that as a Muslim. No, we don't condone that. We do not condone that. Anybody that does any desecration to a church, a synagogue, or a Buddhist temple, any house of worship, every Muslim condemns it. Okay? Now, the Holy Quran asks us the question, do we think that we're going to be successful without having to fight? No. It answers it. It said those before you, those that had passed on before you had to fight. It said the messenger. See, show you it wasn't talking to the Arabs. It said those who passed on before you, the messenger and all his followers. And it said the messenger is talking about Muhammad 1,400 years ago. He hadn't passed away because he was the one doing the talking. Got to be talking to a people who come after Muhammad. Telling you that Muhammad and his followers had to fight. So if you're going to follow the same religion, you have to fight too. This book just lets you know over and over and over. In fact, it said that Muhammad and his followers were fought so hard and were taking such a whipping, said that they would say, when will the help of Allah come? I mean, the Muslims almost gave up. They were afflicted so bad. When the Quraysh marched on Medina, the first time, the Battle of Badr, they chose 1,000 of their best soldiers, their most experienced, their most polished soldiers. They got their crack troops to march on Muhammad. They were going to wipe him out once and for all. These 1,000 troops marched on Medina, and Muhammad could only scrape up 313 soldiers. And some of them were little, but they were young as 13 years old. That's all he could scrape together. But they fought in the name of Allah. And they came through. You understand? What I'm saying, don't look at the odds in terms of this world. That is your test. If you face an enemy, and in your mind, it looks like you got a chance to whip him, you can look at the logistics and say, well, he might whip me, but I can see over here that I might have a chance at it. That's no test. Because you whip him, you say, see, I knew that. I had my stuff over here. But when you meet an enemy, you know you can't whip. When you meet an enemy, you know you ain't got a chance, and you whip him anyway, you got to say, all praise is due to Allah. We know we're scaring some folks. But if you're scaring them, you know, I ain't going to say I'm sorry. I ain't sorry. You should be sorry. Right? The fearful and the unbelievers, the Holy Quran says, those are the ones who will taste the fire. The Bible tells you the same thing. Jesus said it. You know, those who seek to save their lives shall lose it. Now, Elijah Muhammad said it another way. He said, if they come at you with a tank, run toward the tank and you might save your life. Run away and you got to die. That's the God we serve. Listen what it says. Fighting is enjoined on you. You know what enjoined is? We got a lawyer right here. She'll tell you. When you go to court to get an injunction, that's an order. Enjoin don't mean suggest. It means you better do this. You ain't got no options, no choice. This is what you do. That's when you join. I seek, Your Honor, that you enjoin them from doing that. If he issues that injunction, they don't do that. Else they got to pay the penalty. So the Holy Quran said, fighting is enjoined upon you. You don't have a choice. Say, well, I'll tell you what we do. We got two different classes of Muslims. Those who are willing to fight and those who don't dig fighting. So we'll say, no. If you're a Muslim, you got an order to fight. And it don't say men, it says Muslims. And if you ever study the history of the spread of Islam in the early days, you'll find there's some heavy battles won by women because the men weren't there. When the enemy figured the men were gone and they come going to take their town back, women wore them out. I mean, wore them out. In fact, brothers, I hate to tell you this, but there was one battle where the men were getting whipped. And see, they always carried the women along. The women prepared the food, tended the wounded, and all that sort of stuff. So they were always right behind the lines. In this particular battle, I got it in a book called Decisive Moments in the History of Islam. In this particular battle, the men were getting whipped. And when the women saw the men getting whipped, they came up and whipped the enemy back. I mean, so sisters, you know, we say Muslims are fighters, we mean Muslims. Because I used to hear Malcolm say all the time, you mean your little baby, show them how to throw the bottle. Everything. You know, when you're attacked, everybody got to fight. Praise is due to Allah. All right. Now, still talking about, here it is back in back. We went into fasting. Get your strength up. Then it goes more in depth into the fighting that you got to face. Then the next thing it does is forbid intoxicants and gambling. All right, now, you're getting in this battle. Can't drink it, you can't smoke it, you can't shoot it, and you can't sniff it. Not in this battle. That'll get you killed. Not whipped, killed. Okay? Now, some of the weaker Muslims have tried to interpret the word that is used in, and one reason they don't like Muhammad Ali's version of the Holy Quran is because he's so straightforward with it. They try to say, some of them try to say that that word, if you translate it right, it means wine from the grape. But when Allah revealed this to Muhammad, he was in Medina, and didn't a grape grow in Medina? They couldn't even get no wine. It was talking about anything that intoxicates you. Anything that had, because they wasn't drinking no wine, they were smoking reefer. Hashish. That's what the man was telling them. Anything that messes your mind, you can't hardly whip this enemy with your mind straight. How the hell you gonna whip him and you drunk? You loaded, you high, you floating. You can't handle this man. You got to have your head together. Give it up. Yeah, we got Muslims right here in America that do that kind of foolishness. Yeah, baby, I mean, you know, Holy Quran just talk about drinking that liquor, man, but you know, this is all right here. You're a lie. And if you think that they're right, you just look at how they're going in the world today. And then watch them a little bit longer. Now, look what it says. I mean, the book doesn't try to run any games at all. That's what I love about it. The way it reads is so plain and so simple. Now, there are those what they call hellfire and brimstone preachers who will teach you about, yes, there ain't nothing. I mean, I'm talking about Muslim preachers too. You know that ain't nothing to that old liquor, ain't nothing to that old reefer. I mean, it don't even feel good. And they know they lying here. You taking it because you feel good. See? And gambling, you know, ain't nothing to gambling. When you see somebody on TV hit that jackpot on the lottery, tell them they ain't got something good. See? But the Holy Quran don't tell that lie. This is how the Holy Quran says it about the intoxicants and the gambling. It says, great sin and some advantage is in them. Great sin and some advantage. It says, and their sin is greater than their advantage. That's what it's telling you. Yeah, it can lift you for a little while. Yeah, there's a chance you might hit. But you do more harm than good. Okay? You playing the numbers, usually by the time you hit, you done played up more than you hit. Why do you think the folks who run the games are rich? It's got to be more misses than hits. Where did the money come from? Came from all the people playing. So that means everyone hit, there's so many millions, where they get the money to pay off with. Now they pay off $30 million and still got plenty of bread. That means that's money they took in from suckers who didn't win, plus they got some left over. They took over from suckers who didn't win. So yeah, that's advantage. 1 out of so many trillion. But the sin is greater because all the rest of them suffer. There are people who get so hooked on the horses and every other form of gambling that their families suffer. They don't pay their bills. Their families are neglected because they just got to, this just might be my day. And oh, Lord, don't let them miss one day and their number falls. You'll never get them off again. See that? If I hadn't listened to you talking about you need this and you need that, I'm going to hit that number. I mean, you can't never talk to them no more. They spend all their money for the rest of their life. Praise is due to Allah. What about the intoxicant? Big danger in that when you're in warfare. Some guys say, yeah, well, see, you're talking about the fear. I can get me a couple of hits and take me a couple of shots and get my courage. But that's false courage, make you act a fool. So you got to be courageous with intelligence. You get out there with false courage, you mess up everybody else. You get yourself killed, hear some brother, see you acting a fool, come out to help you and he get killed. All right. Let us conclude this section, because I want you to read it yourself. When you go in, you'll see that we skipped across, we just took the major themes, but there's a lot of stuff in between. It goes all into marriage and divorce and all that sort of stuff. It even goes into the whether or not when you have sexual relations with your mate during Ramadan and all that stuff. It's got all that in it. I didn't go into all of that. We're talking about the highlights of our development. You go in there and read the rest of it for yourself. But at the very end of it, now listen to this. This whole section ends talking about how the people, how the Israelites, after Moses died, they asked their prophet, give us a king so we can fight in the way of Allah. So the Holy Quran says, the prophet told them, said, you don't want to fight. Oh, yes, we do. So it said he tried them. I guess he went and picked a fight with somebody. Said only a few of them were there to fight. They were all mouths. They proved, y'all don't really want a king, so you can fight, you just want a king. Because when he tested them, he found out only a few of them were ready to fight. So finally he said, okay, God told me to give you all a king since you insist on a king. He said, God has picked Saul. Saul wasn't good enough for him. Look at the Holy Quran said, we want a king, we want a king, we want a king. Okay, fine. Here's your king. That cat. They're saying, we deserve, the Holy Quran puts it, said, we deserve the kingdom more than he does. Meaning we better than him. They gonna pick up a cat like that. And the Bible says, Saul even told us, yeah, I come from the smallest tribe and the poorest tribe, but I'm the one God chose. Okay? So they were dissatisfied with him. So then, when they were fighting and they were losing, David came along, the little shepherd boy. And when David got ready to go into battle against the man they all were afraid of, Goliath, they mocked David and asked him, did he come to mock them? You come out here from tending the sheep to bring us some food, and you going to mock us like, here, we can't take care of this cat, and we bad as we are, and you going to come up here to you going to handle him. You hear the mocking. I'm not mocking, I'm not playing, I'm for real. So when Saul saw that David was for real, and when David's brothers saw that David was for real, the brothers say, well, look here, David, take my sword and take my spear. David said, no, I don't want your sword and I don't want your spear. Saul said, well, look, take my shield. You know, I'm the king. They gave me the baddest shield. It'll stop anything. Said, I don't want your shield. I don't want your shield. I don't want your sword. I don't want your spear. He said, David, how come you don't want that? He said, if it was any good, how come you ain't winning? What you have must not be that heavy because it ain't working for you. I don't need it. So the book says David went out with a slingshot. And when he got to a brook, he got 5 smooth stones out of the brook. And said that he took these stones, and that's all he needed. And when he hit Goliath, one of the stones sunk in his forehead, knocked him down. And most folks say that killed Goliath, but if you read the scriptures, Goliath was not dead. After he knocked him down with those, then he went over to Goliath, took Goliath's sword, and cut his head off with his own sword. Okay? All right. Now, 5 smooth stones. Why? Did it say he didn't use them all? He didn't need them all, but he had them all, just in case. Okay? He had to take all 5 of them. What 5? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that look at what man has to do all of his reasoning based upon sensory perception. He has 5 senses. Okay? that he has to depend on, and from what those five senses communicate to his brain, he has to draw all of his conclusions from. So he's talking about a man reaching into his own nature. And when he reached into that nature, what does he find? The 5 principles of Islam. If you look at those 5 principles, believe in the one God, belief in the divine revelations from that God, and belief in the hereafter. And then based upon those, your practice is prayer and charity. That you worship and honor the God and you do good towards your brother and sister. I mean, that is the nature of God himself. It's saying that this is what David's key was to victory. That he didn't need the carnal weapons, the swords and the spears and the shields and all that. That David dealt with the principles of Islam. 5 smooth stones. You know what made them smooth? He found them in a brook, didn't he? They were smooth because if you ever look down in running water, any stone you get out of there that's been there for a while is smooth. Because the longer it lays there, the more the water washes away the rough spots. And as we said earlier in this lecture, water is to the body what the Word of God is to the Spirit. And so it's talking about the fact that David got these stones, these principles, honed by God himself. The Word of God making them just like they're supposed to be. And this is what he defeated Goliath with. That's a sign. That was not something that happened with one man and a great big old giant and all that sort of stuff. No. That's in both the books. Because it's a sign. And this particular section of the Quran ends. You hear all that we talked about today, and it ends up talking about the story of David and Goliath. Telling you all of these things is telling you about fasting, about morals, about fighting, and all of that. All that you have to absorb to be able to make it through. And then you'll make it through just like David did with Goliath. It does not mean that in the face of the enemy that we all fall down and prostrate and start praying. No, you get wiped out. We pray, then we work, then we fight. When it's time to pray, we pray. When it's time to work, we work. When it's time to fight, we fight. That section of the Holy Quran ends saying, and were it not for Allah's repelling some men by others, the earth would certainly be in a state of disorder. I mean, that's a clear statement from God himself, that if you don't do it, it does not get done. There's no spook sitting up somewhere on a cloud going to make everything all right. If it's going to be all right, it's because we going to make it all right. And this is what I'm trying to impress on you so that you will impress it upon everybody in the community. We got to do this thing. The unemployment. These sealed up buildings, people homeless, and then those of you got a place to live, you paying an arm, a leg, and an extra toe just to have a roof over your head. That's crazy when you can ride up and down any street and see buildings sealed up with blocks, boarded up with wood. What the hell is this? You got enough empty housing in New York to house everybody in New York. You're doing with people on the sidewalk. That's our fault. That's our fault. We can take those buildings and do what needs to be done and put some people in them. Right. If we get together righteously in the name of Allah, we can get them. We can buy them and or we'll take them. Any way they want to do it. If we get together, we can get them. And when we get them, we will not be bloodsuckers like the folks who own them now. Right. We will have good, we'll make them beautiful and comfortable. Make it good, affordable housing, and then make sure the people can come in and out of their doors without damn drug addicts and drug pushers bugging them coming in and out of their doors, and winos and everything else. But that's what we got to be about, brothers and sisters. That's what we got to be about. Now look, Brother Kevin showed you some products. There's going to be an opportunity for everybody that's in here right now and those who aren't even in here yet to make plenty money. And for thousands and thousands of people right in our neighborhood to make bukus of money. But brothers and sisters, it ain't going to do us no good to make it if we can't make it home without somebody taking it. We got to have the type of communities that you can You make as much money as you want and have it in your pocket and walk the streets with it, and ain't nobody gonna mess with you. We got to do it all. No sense in getting it if you can't keep it, and plus you risking your life if anybody know you got it. And we got to break that foolishness up. We got to make it safe for you to walk the streets in diamond, scared to wear a diamond ring, you might lose the whole finger. No, we can't have that foolishness. You got to be able to be rich and enjoy it and don't have to hide it. You know, you got rich folks right now that keep their jewelry in a safe and have imitation made. Now, what you doing with the real stuff? You can't wear it. It ain't no good. Just buy the pace. That's all anybody ever see. No, you're supposed to be able to wear your stuff for the whole world to see, and you enjoy it. And don't have to worry about somebody trying to snatch it off your neck and snatch your neck with it. Brothers and sisters, we got to, you know, if nobody else wants to do it, that's their business. But you and I need to clean it up where we are. Is that agreed? Yes, sir. That wherever we are, we're going to make that community like we want it. Now, if everybody else want to live in that crowd, let them do it. But we, this community, wherever we are, and we intend to move right there in the middle of Crackville. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. We're moving right in the head dope den. We're going to have to put them on the outskirts or put them in the underskirts. Wherever we won't have to put them, it's up to them. That's right. We're not going to tolerate that. Is that right? Yes, sir. Right. This is a live book. Live book. See that? You didn't hear no bunch of theory and rhetoric. Right. You got prescriptions in here. You got recipes in here. You understand? Right. Oh, you want this? This is how you do. You mix this, that, and the other, and that takes care of that. Yes, that's what this is. This is a book of instructions. This is a how-to book. You know, you buy all over how to fix your plumbing and how to fix your legs. This is how to fix your life. Okay? That's why Minister Farrakhan wants us to get more familiar with this book. We've got to learn the formula. We're going into the laboratory to create a new world. We got to have the formula right. Mix it just right. The temperature got to be just right. The containers have to be clean so your formula will be pure. Oh, it's there, brothers and sisters. As I tell you, just study the book. You'll enjoy it. You really will. So, brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for your kind attention. And I'd like to ask you, how many of you are visiting with us today for your first time? May I see your hands? Very good. Excellent. Okay, those of you who are visiting with us for your first time, and some of you who may have been visiting for a while, how many of you recognize that that's what you heard taught here today is the truth and is good for our people? Could I see your hands? Very good. All right. Those of you who recognize that it's the truth, know it's good for us, how many of you are ready to unite with us now? Let's get on with the program I just described. Stand up, those of you who are ready. Stand up, let me see you. Okay, now remain standing. Brothers here. A sister, where's the sister with the cards? Okay. There's a sister over there with cards, brother over here with cards. Want each of you to take a card, and I think they got pencils too. And take the card and fill it out. And when the meeting is over, I want you to come right up front here. Just take this whole section right up in here and sit down. We'll have someone come out, collect your cards, and give you the information on your next steps. So, thank you very much. You may have a seat, fill out your cards. When the meeting is over, remember, and those of you, I don't want anybody else coming up here taking up the seats, because many times our guests get ready to come up here to get the instructions they need and everything, and here's somebody just deciding to allow. If they're your guests, you brought them, wait for them back there somewhere, okay? They ain't too bashful to walk up here. Is that right, brothers and sisters? Y'all can come up here. That's right. You took that step. The next step is easy, okay? So we'll be looking forward to also meeting you and shaking your hand. As the brother and sister give you the information as you sit up here, I want to come in and shake all of your hands, interrupt you just for a second, because I'm proud to shake every black man and woman's hand who stand up for the truth in America, because like I say, it ain't easy, and it ain't going to get easy. It's going to be hard, but the end is so beautiful. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's give Brother Minister Abdul one more round.